Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge cycling podcast with Benji Naesen on our Sunday evening. We've just watched Liège-Bastogne-Liège, men and women's. Men's recap first. If you're watching on YouTube, the women's recap is a separate vid. Liège parcours for the men is 260 kilometers long from Liège to Bastogne and then back to Liège in a clockwise fashion. The main climbs that you should really bear in mind are Côte de la Redoute with about 35 k's to go, 2 k's 9%, and then Côte de la Roche or Faucon 1.3 k's 10.5%, short descent, then Boncel 1200 meters 6.5%. They're about 13 to 10 k's to go, then 10k descent, flat sprint finish, headwind on those climbs, headwind in the sprint finish. We knew that for the men's race because the women's race preceded it. The rider said very strong headwind in the finish. But before we get to that action, I want to mention our show partner, Lecol, lecol.cc. They are our show partner for the entire year. We're going to hopefully get over to Europe. And, well, I'm going to get over to Europe. I believe Benji, in theory, lives there already. I'm going to get over there. And maybe we can do our Tour de France shows in person. That is with Lecol support. If you want to check them out, they're in the description below. You can check out their kit, their performance cycling apparel on their Instagram. It is pretty much just a digital collection of it all. I just got some new kit, which has been good in the autumn here. But anyway, men's Liège, God, it was a snooze fest. This is the climbing version of MSR. I said that in the preview. Nothing happened in the first 230 Ks. Of note, I guess 60 Ks to go. Greg van Avermaet attacked, got brought back. I think it was Tosh van der Sande, not even Gilbert, who was attacking for Lotto. 3 riders went clear. There was a break, obviously, a suicide break with the Pro Conti teams and Carp the Road at 3 minutes. This is before Redoute. And then Mark Donovan on DSM, Han van Hocker Lotto Soudal, and Padun for Bahrain. Padun for Bahrain were in a group and they got allowed to have 90 seconds, and then Ineos took their foot off the gas, went up to 4 minutes again, and pretty much the break just started to drop itself from fatigue. We got to the Côte de la Redoute. All the favourites are there. Pogacar had a puncture but got back, and something did actually happen on Redoute, Benji. The race started to open up there with 36 Ks to go.
Yes, it was a team that a few days ago would have said would ride all out for Pidcock, but Pidcock went ahead and said nope to LBL because of the crash he had at Fleche, so they were here without him. And the team of Ineos just moved forward. They had the options of the likes of an Adam Yates, for example, a Carapaz, those kind of riders, but with those riders, you need to try and open up the race early because you don't have that punchy effect on Faucon to try and follow a punch by Alaphilippe, for example. So that's what they did here. They saw a lot of do and move forward with the entire team. And one of the MVPs for that team today was definitely Tao Gegenhardt. He's getting better in form for the Giro, it seems, because, that was good for the Tour. My bad. Is it Giro? Tour, right?
He's doing the Tour.
Yes.
Tour.
On La Redoute? Okay. On La Redoute, they came forward. They smashed it from the bottom. And
no Pidcock.
That's true. And at the bottom, they just hammered it in the sense that the people that were in their wheel, they were unable to attack because Van Stevenant was getting ready for an attack on La Redoute. You saw him on the right of the road, just pinching his head out and was like, okay, I'm going to move up. But yeah, Gegenhardt kept on pedaling hard and he put up a massive, massive pace because at the back of the peloton, we saw everybody just having trouble to follow. And at a certain point, we saw a bit of a gap open up, I think in 22nd position somewhere, where we basically saw a group getting away. And that included the 4 Ineos members at the front of the race, including likes of Carapaz, Adam Yates, Hart as well. And I think Dunbar did a lot of work for the team there as well. But that gap actually split up a few favorites that were left behind at that point. And a few of those were Alaphilippe, who only had Van Stevenant in the front group, and I think David Nance as well, but I'm not totally sure about that. We saw Roglic having trouble for a second to try and follow the first group, but he bridged up and actually closed it down just before the top of La Redoute. And I think the other favorite that was not in the front group there was Valverde. So 2 of the people that we certainly thought would be in the final of this race were not really there at this point. And his Ineos coup on the race was definitely looking like a chance for them to try and put the race upside down and perhaps put themselves into a position where nobody really expected them to be, with a numerical advantage on everybody else with a good 35k to go. So what a move there. Did you think that they were going to set it up that they would keep on pacing until like Forge or
Yeah, I
and
did.
do something?
I did. I think I don't know what stopped their action. Maybe because they realised, oh no, we've got Roglic, Valverde in this group, and Pogacar. Pogacar was bang on
Valverde wasn't.
Kwiatkowski's wheel. What's the point in bringing 3/4 of the sprinters or reduced bunch sprinters we're concerned about? So it all came back together, and then they got to this little climb before Côte de la Roche or Faucon called the Forge climb, rather. And Ineos went again with Geoghegan Hart. And I think not having Pidcock here today, it obviously changed their strategy massively. They wanted to use their depth in numbers. They did what I thought Bahrain would have tried to do with Poels, Haig, Padun, Dylan Turns, who were kind of anonymous today. And they went again with Geoghegan Hart and got an even better split this time, dropping Roglic. And Alaphilippe was now in this group, still with Valverde in the group. And then, kind of like what they did with Amstel, they attacked with Carapaz, Benji, and it immediately went out to 20 seconds. I think they had Quero and who else they had in that group? Just about him and Carapaz. They attacked. And did you think that was the best option? Did you think they should have tried to work together? Do you think, again, there were too many quick guys in that group, so that was the best option at that time, and then hope that Quero could sit in the wheels? And, I think they should have tried to nurse Kwiatkowski a bit more before onto Côte de la Roche or Faucon, personally.
Honestly, I don't think that their strategy of having Kwiatkowski as main leader here would have been the best idea, because so far in this Ardennes season, I felt like Carapaz was the better rider and ended up, I think, 6th or 7th in Flèche Wallonne as well. So he's doing extremely well so far, and I think that he should have been the rider they were hammering it for here. And with that attack, they reduced the advantage they had with the numerical advantage on the others to not having that advantage. And that group was quite simply getting caught back by the people behind. And the problem there is that, you're basically choosing to have Carapaz at the front in a race where everybody who scouted the weather for the race knows that a headwind is coming up after each climb to the finish line and in the last portion to the finish line as well. So it's not going to be a great idea to attack with a solo rider at this point. Perhaps it's an in-race decision at the same moment, but even if you're with the fast people that you are with, you're getting rid of the likes of an Alaphilippe if you keep on pacing and if you keep that strongly together. And I'm afraid that, that wasn't an ideal strategy in my eyes.
Well, who was chasing him?
That it was Movistar, because I'm still 99% sure Valverde was not in that group, actually.
I feel like he was in that group because I was watching him all day because he was my pick with my heart. Maybe he wasn't. Everyone can comment down below. I'm just a relentless Valverde stan, obviously, but it doesn't really matter whether he was in that group at that point or not. And I can say that because I was probably wrong, apparently. But Carapaz 20 seconds ahead, but everyone got their act together behind before the final climb. They chased him down. The final climb comes to about 14 Ks to go, as I said, about 1.3 Ks, 10.5%. Movistar chasing, as well as, I think, UAE. Pogacar's there, and I think they do catch him before the final climb, and it's UAE. By the way, Luke Vliegen at some point has been caught. He got as much camera time today as when Ineos, more than when Ineos were pacing, with like the whole team shredding the race, even though we'd been watching for 2 hours when nothing happened. Côte de la Roche-Faucon. UAE setting pace. Formulo, I think. I'm not sure if he or she was just in the wheels or set pace. He was up there. And then they created a bit of a split. Roglic was already getting distanced. He'd already had to do some work beforehand. And it was Mike Woods, very consistent in Liège. He attacked on Côte de la Roche or Faucon. And he was followed by Pogacar, Alaphilippe, Valverde, who was in this group, and David Gaudu. So the 5 riders go clear. No Roglic, no Schachmann, no one from Bahrain, and no Fulsang, even though Arambaru had been riding for Full Sail earlier, which Benji and I vehemently disagree with. Did you think at that point, Benji, with 5 different teams, a lot of the big contenders represented, even with the headwind, it was a done deal?
I think that it was a done deal. I think that
Yeah,
the
agreed.
riders that I expected to be in a chasing group or in an attacking group, in a lead group from that point onwards, were kind of the riders that were in there. I think that we all relatively expected Valverde to be able to follow the likes of Pogacar on this climb. Expected Pogacar to be able to follow a Woods on this climb. Who did I expect to be in here? Well, Roglic, and he just wasn't really there. The entire day he was a bit looking like in the distance, chasing everybody. And I believe that, yeah, that's not ideal. And I think that I expected more from him today. After last year's victory, I kind of just expected more, but that was not the case. But yeah, that group was certainly a group that was moving towards a potential victory here. I didn't see the others coming back, and we saw a helicopter view at a certain point that confirmed that for us, that the others were significantly behind as well. So we went ahead to descend where Full Sang had his tire slip. Can you remind us of the sound that made back in the day?
Was that it? I can't remember. But it wasn't wet today, so there were no tyre slips. Mike Woods, though, they got to get him off the front on the descent. He's letting the group behind come back quickly, which is mainly Roglic and Schachmann pacing behind a large group, but dysfunctional. Kwiatkowski trying to attack here, Full Sang attacking. They'd work together for a little bit, pulling turns, and then just disintegrate the cohesion. So Group 1, going ahead, they get into the last 5Ks. They got 30 seconds, which isn't that long. We see Mohoric on the descent behind, reminding you we've got in the group. Valverde barely pulling, refusing to pull after Rochefoucauld for ages, then eventually pulling. Pogacar pulling like an absolute truck, as well as Mike Woods. Alaphilippe doing a good job, and Gaudu as well here. And we were thinking, Benji, what should Gaudu do? I mean, what's the go-to for David Gaudu? And I mean, he's not going to win the sprint, we think, but there's no real uphill to attack. It's descent. I think Mike Woods, after they got off the descent, tried something under an underpass. They then helpfully cut back to G2, but he was shut down by Alaphilippe pronto in the last 3Ks. And we got into the final, I think the last kilometre, 1K to go, and they all start track standing. Alaphilippe takes the last corner super wide. He goes to the back of the group, and then Pogacar's like, no, I'm going to go to the back of the group. Pogacar literally, I thought he'd had a mechanical or something. He just like he was going to pull off. They went down to 20 k's an hour. Eventually, Valverde starts to lead out this group of 5 with, I think, Hirschi chasing behind with Tej Benoot at 500 meters to go. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And Valverde leading them out. Woods on his wheel, Gaudu third, Alaphilippe fourth wheel, Pogacar fifth wheel. Headwind in this sprint will affect it a lot. Valverde kicks at 275 into the headwind, nearly gaps Woods, but Woods gets back into the wheel. Gaudu kind of nowhere, can't kick around anyone. Alaphilippe goes to the right-hand side. Valverde was on the left-hand barrier. Alaphilippe right-hand side. Going quick, goes really fast past Woods, and Valverde passes them easily, but Pogacar, perfect positioning, right on his wheel, gets the slipstream for the longest out of anyone in the group of 5. We know he's quick, comes round, Alaphilippe doesn't chop him, and beats him pretty comfortably in the reduced bone sprint to win Liège-Bastogne-Liège, the first winner of a monument after winning the Tour the previous year since Bernard Hinault in, 79. I just stole that fact straight off Lanterne Rouge on Twitter, but I'll claim it. What did you think of that sprint, Benji? Valverde showing a lot of inexperience, not even being ironic.
Yeah, Valverde was sitting at the back of the group almost the entire descent and pushed twice at the front, relaying. And at that point, I was like, yeah, he's doing what he usually does, just sits at the back and waits until the sprint arrives and thus tries to swamp people. But that was not the case, because in the last 1K, he decided to take the front and do the lead out for everybody. So really no clue what he was thinking. Definitely with the headwind, Valverde should know better. It's harsh to say, but I think he should know better. I think in the last 700 meters, he tried to get to the back, but Woods was like, nope, not going to happen anymore. You ain't getting behind us. And everybody just started breaking behind him to keep himself at the front, to keep Valverde at the front. But I think when it comes to this sprint, we can highlight a few things. We hadn't seen Gaudu sprinting against others that much. I think Romandy, he won a group sprint once, if I recall correctly, a few years ago. And I knew he had a bit of a punch. I expected him to come in the top 4 of the sprint. I just didn't know where. And now we have a bit of a reference to see what he can do against the others. So that's what I love about this, because now we know that Pogacar and Alaphilippe are somewhat on the same area. We know the Valverde sprint is not looking as great as it was for certain. We knew that already. I said it in the preview. You didn't, right? Sorry.
No, I said his sprint was good at Amstel. And I think his sprint is still as good as Pogacar. And the difference today was positioning, not... I mean, if Pogacar was put on the front and led them out with 275 in the sprint, I don't think he's winning either. So I think it was more positioning than anything with Valverde. But no, I agree. His sprint is clearly not like 2014 Valverde sprint. Like, I don't know. I think people were going at Benji for his comment about that. Like, I said his sprint was better in Amstel than 2020, where he was terrible. But Benji is correct. A Valverde sprint is not like peak.
To the benefit of the people that were going at me for things, I think they were right when it comes to like not knowing that LBL was won 4 times by Valverde. But if I can give a solid excuse for that, it's the fact that I don't really care about the Ans finish. We'll talk about that a bit later on here. But
let me do the results. I'll stop attacking the listeners attacking you, and then you defending the listeners attacking you to see which one of us is the nice one. But yeah, you should definitely go with Benji, because Balabalin winning Liège 4 times. I watch it every night before I go to sleep. The results: Pogacar first, Alaphilippe second, Gaudu third, French second and third, but no winner. Valverde fourth, Woods fifth, Hirschi sixth after attacking behind with Benoit and Mollema, Schachmann ninth, Mohoric 10th, back-to-back. Is that back-to-back top 10s in Liège? Ineos, Benji. Let's talk about that before we get to the on finish. If Ineos were named Movistar and wore blue jerseys, seriously, wouldn't they be getting absolutely roasted by everybody for what happened today? Or is it different because Carapaz still went up the road and had a chance?
Yeah, I think that wasn't the smartest idea, but I think that people also shouldn't criticize Ineos here too much, because I think it's the only way they could potentially have won this race is by trying something extreme like that. I don't believe that Carapaz was going to win the sprint. We've seen him do a decent sprint in Polonia, I think, a few years ago, but I still wouldn't expect it here. And yeah, when it comes to that team, they had strength in numbers and strength across the board, but not one extreme leader like a Pidcock who would end up being able to sprint like that. And that's just not the case here. And I think that that is their excuse here. I think when it comes to strategies all over, I want to highlight something else. How dare Astana use Aramburu to close down gaps and attack with 70k to go? I hate it. I hate it. How they massacred my boy.
It was so fucking stupid. Okay, so this finish, headwind sprint, headwind on the climbs, we had after the race, the women's race, which I know we reversed it, but preceded the men's race. Van Vleuten in the finish interview was like the headwind on the final climb. The final was really strong. And Jakob Fuhl saying, I'm not sure if anyone's been watching, but where the fuck is he going to put 15 seconds into Pogacar, Alaphilippe and Woods on these climbs in 2021? Like, what are they doing having Aramburu spend his bickies with 60Ks to go when he can actually win a reduced bunch sprint, or at least podium? Say, probably he's not going to outclimb Matthews. Or maybe he could have attacked on the final descent or something. I don't know. They should have been wanting, like we said in the preview, a slow race. And yeah, I didn't get it. Aramburu had a better chance of winning Liège-Bastogne-Liège today than Jakob Fuglsang, who came 12th, in that G2, middling in G2, and not winning the reduced bunch sprint there either. So, made no sense. Maybe Benji and I are overrating Aramburu, but I don't know. It's like, no, here's the thing. Bike Exchange had Chavez and Matthews. Matthews for the sprint, Chavez for the climbing, maybe if it's really quick climbs at the end. They don't use Matthews to close moves with 60Ks to go. So, sorry, did I cut you off, Benji? I was so enraged.
No, I don't actually remember what I said, so I think that's relatively
You're mad about
what you
Aaron
needed
Brewer.
to say. Yeah, I'm just sad about Adam Budowitz. They
Yeah.
massacred my boy. But all in all, I think that it was a good race, and I want to bring up the point that I also brought up on Twitter before and after the race. Let's talk about the finishes. In the past, up to 3 years ago, we had the Côte d'Or as the finishing point of Liège-Bastogne-Liège, which had a bit of a curve in the last 200 meters and then a sprint to the line. Now, I hate that finish. They waited so long a lot of the times, and I don't know why, but I just didn't like that climb. I don't know why. Now, the difference is much different because now we come to Rochefoucauld. We know that a smaller group will form out of that. We've seen it 2 years in a row now. And my heart beats from that entire point at 120. I'm literally almost dying in the. It's not that high, but still, it's crazy how it makes me so nervous in the last 10 kilometers, that descent. Will somebody try to attack before the sprint? Stuff like that. And just
I
that
agree.
aspect to it is so much more fun than being on all and then seeing, oh, there someone's punching away. Okay, that's it. I barely cared about Liège-Bastogne-Liège for a lot of years until they changed the finish, and then I saw, oh my god, this is good. And last year was an
I
amazing
like it.
race as a consequence. The last portion, at least. Today, I think the last 30 kilometers were a very good race, in my opinion. I think since La Redoute, it was really fun to watch, and it would have been so much different if they had another hill in the last kilometer, because that would close down the race way more. And there were people that are like, "Oh, I'm saving my energy for the finish." Yeah, I like it way more like this, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, well, Pol's respect his win in 2016, but if I'm going back to make a throwback analysis video, that won't be the most exciting sort of race I'd ever go and pick. Pol's Albacini, Rui Costa, Sanchez sort of guys in a kick up to, oh, no thanks. I really like this where you got the pressure of the group behind. It's kind of like we saw an Amstel Gold race the last couple of years in the men and women's. It's like MSR, like I said, are they going to be caught, etc. if they play too much? Maybe they nearly did today. But anyway, that was our men's recap. Let us know what you think in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. But now stay tuned for the women's race recap.